Hello, welcome. Here we were going to be talking about Microsoft OneDrive, particularly how we use it on both the desktop and in the portal, and really how to get the best out of it for syncing files to your local machine, collaborating, sharing, having files shared with you. Just a real overview of how to get to grips with everything OneDrive related that you'll need to know. So we'll start off today going into the web portal, which we'll do so with the OneDrive.com page there, and we'll hit the sign in, and we'll sign in as our user, which is Mark Rogers at cozymouse.com. It'll take us to the organization sign in page here, which we'll just put in our password like so, and nope. It'll take us to the main OneDrive screen. Now this really does contain everything we need to know about getting around our whole OneDrive environment. So just on the left-hand side here, you can see obviously got the home page, which is very handy for looking at the recent documents you've been working on. It's a good place to go to just to come back to something nice and easily have access to things. But we've also got these other items. So let's talk about these. We've got the My Files on the left here. Now this really is the whole structure around how everything is contained in your OneDrive. And you'll notice you've got things here for desktop, documents, and pictures. Now I'm going to come back to that a little later on because that is how we synchronize things with what's on our desktop. And we can match up the folders that you'd normally be used to on your desktop machine with things like desktop, documents, and pictures, and have them automatically mirrored across so that everything is automatically saved in OneDrive 100% of the time. Definitely something that is ordinarily turned on, and it should be turned on for the ease of use on certainly on different machines, but just to make sure that everything you do is backed up into the cloud, into your OneDrive environment. And of course, navigating around that, we can just go into each one here. You can see documents, and we might look at this item here, test files, and you can see we've got files and the normal structure that you'd expect to have in there. We've also got the item on the left here called shared. Now this is handy if you've got things that are shared, as you can see, with you. Obviously there's a file here from Bob Jones. It doesn't exist on your OneDrive. It exists on Bob's OneDrive, but he shared that with you, so you've got easy access to that. And also you've got shared by you. Now we haven't got anything shared yet. I'm going to show you how to share things with other people and how to navigate around that. But let's come back to this with you. Now we've only got one file in here for this particular user, but if you did have lots of things going on there, you can filter them by name and person here, and you can also filter them by folder, by document type, and the like as well. So if you do have a lot of files in there, you can start to drill down just with these little search functions as well here. And also on the left here, you've got a recycle bin, which is very handy if you've deleted things by mistake. You can always pick them up and grab them out of here too. But let's just go back to our home function here and have a look at this main section again. Because from our recent files here, you can see I can actually just go into this file here, opens up in a separate tab, and I've got full access to be able to edit and do what I want to do with that file inside this browser window as well, which is certainly good if you want quick edits to files and things. You can do that effectively away from your normal desktop. In any web browser, you can have access to everything in your OneDrive environment. Now on the bottom left-hand corner, you can see the storage we've used. You can see on this particular user, we've got 1.6 gigs used out of the 1 terabyte. So he has plenty of space left over for what he wants to do. But it's also good to keep an eye on that about when you might be filling up OneDrive if you need to request more space or really just cull things down if things are getting a bit too hectic in there. But also note on here on the left-hand side, you've got the quick access. Now this is handy if you've got things that are accessed from things like SharePoint Online or any Teams file structures that you've got. And you can see here, this is the Cozy Mouse team that we are part of. And you can see I've got access to the general tab here. And this is the files which are in Teams, not necessarily on my particular OneDrive, but because all of OneDrive is driven from in Microsoft 365, it's the SharePoint backend, which takes care of all the SharePoint files, the Teams files, the OneDrive files. Everything is on that same file structure. It's just obviously a different ways of viewing those files. So you can see what they've done is they've presented a nice easy way to get to your Teams files from inside your OneDrive console as well. And even they put links up here to say I can go straight to the channel as well if I need to, and I can certainly perform these tasks up the top as well. But let's suppose, back on the sharing thing, let's suppose we've created this document, which we have here. Let's go to My Files, and we'll go to the documents here. Let's say our test files, this file here, this cool one here, Buck's cool file, and we want to be able to share that with Bob so he can collaborate on this one as well. What we can do quite easily off this menu structure here with the dots is we can say that we want to share this file out. So if we do that, we can hit share, and we can say, how do we want to share this? Now we've got plenty of options available to share this file out. So let's first of all just put in Bob, and we'll grab his name there. And we can add more people if we want to do multiple ones there. And we can also add a message when it sends the email to Bob saying, hey, Buck shared this file with you. You can put a message around what needs to happen as well. But you can see here it says anyone with the link can edit. Now what I'm going to do is I have the option here to say I can either say they can edit, can view, or can review as an option. But also if I click on anyone with the link can edit, I can also say, well, how do you want to share this file? And you can say with that link is really anybody, which is probably not recommended. We don't share it with absolutely everybody. Or you can say people in your environment, in this case, the Cozy Mouse environment, people with any existing access, or people we choose. And we might say, okay, this link is only available to people we choose, which is going to be obviously in this case going to be Bob. And we want to restrict it and say they can only view, they can't make changes to the file like that. So you can see, be very careful about how you want to let people have access to your file structure. Don't just let them just say anyone with a link and just blasé and just get these files out there. Be a little bit more specific, and we do recommend that you share them with specific people. And be careful with the whether they can view or edit or whatever they can do, because once they've got access to it, they can obviously edit that file and obviously affect things in your own OneDrive. So just be careful with how you would be sharing files out here. But if we hit apply, you can see there, and we can say that's obviously the settings are now put in here. Hi Bob, here is the file we discussed, like that, and we'll hit send. We can also take that link as well and copy that link to the clipboard which we've created if you want to be able to put that into a separate email as well, but we can just hit send here, and that's going to send that across to Bob. You can see there we go. Now done. And you can see on the right hand side here it's telling us that we've shared this file with Bob Jones. And likewise, if I go back to my shared options here, you can see shared with you, but now if you look at shared by you, you can see this one is the file we've just shared out, and we can manage that share accordingly. So we can then obviously on the dots here, we can look at manage access, and if we do that, we come back to this item here, and you can see who is it actually shared with, and you can see obviously that we've got the owners of the file, and we've got Bob, which can just view, and other items here. So this is a great place to actually, as it says, manage the access to that particular file, and quite easily I can say stop sharing if I want to take it away from that sharing function too. So if we now open up the normal Windows Explorer, you see here on the left hand side this machine is synced up for its like the desktop and documents and pictures, because you can see it on the left hand side here. And indeed, if we look at the documents, the normal documents area on this machine, you can see that these are the files which you would recognize from the other view we've just had in the portal. But what I want to look at, just before I go into that in a bit more detail, I just want to jump into the OneDrive agent, the little software that lives on your machine that's providing that sync service, just to explain some of the settings in there, just so you can get a bit more idea of a control around that, the whole OneDrive environment for you. So down here, you'll find the little OneDrive icon. If it's not there, it'll be inside the little pop-up here. But I'll just go into this one, and you can see, there we go, all files are synced, great. But the little cog item here, which we get us into the settings. So what we can see from here is that the syncing and the backup, the first important one here is this. I mean, if we say manage backup, this is where we can confirm that we do have the things like documents, pictures, and the like actually done and backed up from this machine up into OneDrive. And we'll just give it a second. It will actually scan those and tell us that they are synced up onto the cloud. And there we go. You can see that it's got a 1.5 gig of documents and some pictures and things. And we can turn those off and on as we need to, but obviously we'd recommend just leaving that on. But that's a good way to check that it is actually there and working properly. But you can see also saying we want to start OneDrive when we sign into Windows. These are all default settings, so you don't really have to go in and change any of them. I just want to make sure you know whereabouts they live. But what I want to show you here is on the account side. If you do have things that are synchronized to the machine from things like SharePoint and Teams and other sources, not just OneDrive, this is where you manage it. So if we had things, you can see here's that Cozy Mouse General, which is the general tab inside that Cozy Mouse team. If we did decide we wanted to stop syncing that to the machine, we could just hit the stop sync, and that will then come off there, and you can see it would disappear from this section over here on the left-hand side. But that's anything we've got managed from that level, like as I say, anything that's synced up from different sources will appear in this section, and you can obviously manage that accordingly. Now the other notifications here, having these turned on is good. It's saying, letting you know that obviously things that are deleted on the PC are also removed from the cloud. We want that notification turned on just as a reminder of really what's going on there. And also a notification if syncing is paused. If you are offline, say your internet goes down and you're still working on files, you will get the notification to say you've made some changes on your desktop and those haven't been pushed up to the cloud because it can't connect and can't do what it needs to do. So these are all good just to leave on. They'll generally just leave you alone with notifications, but it will just tell you about things that are important if they come up. But I do want to talk about this one here, managed storage. Now, this is a very useful item, and you might think, well, hey, 1.7 gig used out of a terabyte, that's great. But what if you've got a lot and you're reaching that storage cap, and you might be, well, where is it? What is taking up all this space? You can hit this managed storage, and it will drop you back into the console, but it will look at the SharePoint level, and it will give you a good categorization of exactly what is in there and the size of it. So you can see here, documents, and you've got other items here. But if you go to documents, then you see under documents, you've got pictures and desktop. It's now giving you a breakdown of what they are. And if you drill down in a little bit further, you can see out of the documents, music is 1.4, some files there. So you really can start to see as you drill down really what is using that space. And then, of course, you can make some changes or delete things or whatever you need to do. But it's just a good way of saying, well, how big are some of these folders and file structures in there? Just a handy little tip to know if you are needing to do any space management. So close that back out and go back to Explorer. Now, what I want to show you here is what these little icons mean on the status for these directories. Now, if we've got things like documents, you can see I've got music. These are slightly different in their coloring, and they obviously mean something. What you have the option to do is to have these folders always available on your machine. That means it's taking up space on your local machine. Now, if you've got a fairly small machine, let's say you've only got a 256 gig drive and you've got a terabyte of OneDrive space, clearly you don't want to have everything copied down to your machine for OneDrive because it just clearly won't fit. So you get the option to say, well, what do you want to have on your machine? You might decide that you want particular folders downloaded because you're working them offline. Let's say you're on a plane or something and you need these particular folders to be there, but you might have other things that are not necessary. Now, when you do bring something down, and by opening the file, it will bring that file down to your machine and it will make it available to you offline. However, what you can do is you can right click on these folders and you can say here, always keep on this device, and you see the little tick box here for this one that says some files. When it does that, it will end up with the little filled in green icon here. And you can see this one for music. It doesn't have the little tick box there because it's not always kept on the device. So it means that if I didn't have Wi-Fi and I was away from an internet connection and I went into that music folder, I could see the files there. I just wouldn't be able to open any of them. Whereas these ones here with the filled in green, they're on the device and that would be okay. They will be on that machine. So if I were to go into here though, and actually just right click on that, I can then say free up space, and that will then remove that copy from the machine as well. Sometimes you might run out of space on your local machine. You need to free up space, and you need to say don't always keep it on this machine. I might say free up space here, and you can see now it goes to its little syncing option, and you can see it's popped up a little notification, and it's changing it to a file on demand strategy. So you got it, and you can see now it's got the little cloud icon. These are only available in the cloud. So that's obviously what that now means. So I would go back here and I might just turn that back on again, always keep on this device. And if I were to click down here, you'll then see what it's doing. and you can see there's some things that it's doing, just to make sure everything is synced back onto that machine correctly. So that really is obviously what these mean and how we might structure them and look after that local storage. But we can also, if we were to go into this directory even, I could say from here that I want to, from a OneDrive option, I want to share it and even manage access, view online, all these other functions. Because the machine is now obviously linked up with its file system into OneDrive, I can say share, and that's going to give you a very similar structure what you had on when we started this video about how you share files. So that's going to be exactly the same thing, but you don't have to go into the portal to share a file. You can do it from Explorer, and you can do it in this function as well as. So that's obviously what we were learning about previously. And this file structure can be used completely normally like local storage. In fact, if I go in here and say new folder, and I call it something like that, and I go in there, excuse me, hello, and I say a new, let's say we start a new document like so. Go in there just very quickly, just doesn't matter what it is. I just want to show you as a demonstration. Really, you can see now, if I go back up to the cloud version here and look at my files and go into documents and give it a couple of seconds just to refresh and update, you'll find that that document, the folder will be there with that document inside as well. Like that. There we go. That's the function hello, and there's that hello there text as well. So it is very quick to make those updates. And you see if we go into the OneDrive here, you can see there's the file which it was working on there, and you can see, yeah, 40 seconds ago is when it last did that update. So you can keep an eye on things here, but you'll find that it does keep it in sync very nicely. It looks after you in that sense. So thank you for watching this quick introduction into OneDrive and how it gets used, and we'll talk to you on the next video. Thanks again.